green button, which means I can do this.
Get those nerds! Nerds!
Oh, I hit the wrong one.
That's our old bumper.
That's the old bumper. Oh, here's the right bumper. Wait a minute. Hold on. See, I don't know what I'm doing. Everyone's going, is this show starting?
Get those nerds!
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to a new edition, a third Nerd Thursday edition of Bid Nerds. My name is John Polnik, and I am your host of Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on Cars and Bids and Bring a Trailer and P-Car Market and RAD For Sale and every other automotive enthusiast auction site, along with my partner, Michael Deeb, right there from San Francisco. How you doing, Michael Deeb?
Sup, nerds? Three pedal posses in the house.
It is the three pedal posse. Look at this guy. It's Mauricio from 3PP. There he is. What's up, Mauricio?
Not much. How are you guys doing? I'm going to start putting these little stickers on the auction houses. So
absolutely.
The bidding starts at $1.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Very good. 3PP up there in the Northwest, in the great Northwest, Seattle, Washington. Mauricio and I met at Car Week. I don't know how many years ago in Monterey. That's also where I believe you introduced me to Ben the Professor, and we've all been in the posse since. Mauricio, what is going on in the Northwest with the three pedal posse?
Mauricio, isn't it true that you coined the nickname the Professor? Wasn't that your brainchild?
That was my brainchild.
Stellar. You're a marketing guru right there.
I know. Given his tutelage, of driving, it only seemed fitting. So. Yeah, that was actually, it's 11 years.
Damn.
Yeah.
Good times in Monterey. That is
great times.
Reunion, right?
We were all a little bummed out last year because that would have been year 11 in a row of going to Monterey Car Week.
Right.
And it would have been for Ben. So for those of you who don't know who we're talking about, Ben the Professor is a very good friend of ours. Go check out Der Fascination. There's a film about Ben Professor, the Professor, that you can see and learn all about how to be one of his students. And he's just a generally good all-around fella. He's one of our best friends, and we miss you, Ben.
He does put the enthusiasm in enthusiast, and his Professor runs are they make any trip to LA worth taking if you can get down there in your own car and go on one. So follow him on the Instagrams.
Well,
the man bleeds 2050. That's all I can say.
Last year, if Monterey would have happened, if Car Week would have happened, that would have been what, his 33rd year in a row?
Yeah, something like that.
He has been going for the evers. All right. Well, so we're talking about 3PP for real quick. What is 3PP? What is three pedal posse? What does that even mean, man?
That's a great question.
I'm assuming you're the one that would have an answer for it. I wasn't asking Deeb. I don't.
It's so provocative.
We get asked that a lot, and I mean, I think the simple way of putting it is, you've got people, you've got places, and you've got the passion side of it, and that's really it. It's it's a group of people who are just into cars. They're petrol heads. They're into hanging out. The three pedal part of it, that came out of, that group like Ben and those guys from the Bay Area and Southern California 10 years ago. Yeah. But in reality, no, you don't need three pedals to hang out. Our whole thing is we want to do stuff. We want to go on drives. We want to go on, big long trips. We want to hang out and wrench. We want to get together and have a barbecue. The cars are very much in the background. And the birth of it came out of really kind of seeing a void in the automotive community, specifically in the Pacific Northwest, where at the time it was very fragmented. I think everybody was either sticking to a set of bylaws or sticking to a certain brand, and we're like, that kind of takes the fun out of it.
Right.
We're not really, I think Porsches, we just all happen to be into Porsches, and most of us have them, but no, I mean, just bring what you got. Even if you don't drive, come and hang out, hop in a passenger's seat.
Yeah. Sweet.
That's really it. And to be fair, I think it's a lot of the people that have been very supportive of Three Pedal Posse that have have driven that culture and have allowed that community to grow in that way. So,
well, just, by all accounts, it's super inclusive.
very
Mauricio.
inclusive.
And I have, as you know, your circle of friends and my circle of friends now is a big overlap. Even though you and I have not had to hang up, I have heard like a dozen different people say the nicest things about you, and so it's really cool. I'm happy that your thing, which bore out of passion and inclusion, is working, and I wish you all the best, man.
Thank you. That's very humbling. Yeah, it's a fun group. I mean, JP knows. I mean, that's the other thing too, is I think that it somehow naturally it gravitates and to other groups that are the same way. You've got Ben's group, you've got Dare Foz and those guys, and it's great. So I'm very happy about it. Very fortunate about it. We've been a little bit quiet in the last year, but
had to.
Yeah,
Everybody.
Yeah, but we're gonna pick up where we left off and actually go on to bigger and better things. So,
well, I know you hold a special place in JP's heart because you guys are representing the Pacific Northwest. Even though he is now completely adopted the desert as his home, he still has a soft spot for 3PP and anything that smells of rain. So
love it.
Well, a couple of years ago we went down to Palm Springs. You had that Palm Springs run, and that was
during the art thing. Was that during the art week, or was that a different
modern? Yeah. It was like it was Modern Week adjacent, if I remember correctly. It was like right before it or something.
Modern Week,
yeah. So we went down there, and that week happened to be like this freak snowstorm, and Mikey and I were going to drive the 993 down, but instead we had to drive, Uncle Godden gave us a Macan to mob through the snow, so we made it down there. But the reason why I'm bringing that trip up specifically is because on that trip, Danny was with you, our mutual friend Danny from DG Coachworks. Is that how I pronounce?
DG Vintage Coachworks. Yeah. Man, you took away my transition. I was.
Well, there you go. I'm giving it to you, right? I mean, what happened there by the pool? Tell us about that.
So, we all had this crazy idea, let's go to Palm Springs, for Modernism Week, which if you ever want to go to Palm Springs, you go to Modernism Week because it's awesome, but you don't go to Modernism Week because it's ridiculously expensive and impossible to find a hotel. But hey, it worked out.
Yeah.
Danny from DG Vintage Coachworks, who is a good friend, and he has kind of become the go-to guy for painting your Porsche and doing a spectacular job.
Wow.
He's done three cars for me personally, and he's probably done since that time, which was 2.5, 3 years ago, he's probably done at least 35.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he's up near you guys. He's in Seattle proper, or
he's a little bit north of Seattle, but he's done everything from speedsters to RSR builds to some pretty rare cars. But so anyway, on that trip, the big exciting thing was that a few months before that at Luft, he revealed his wide body 964 with the Martini livery.
Oh, that's the black one, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that got so much traction. It was a spectacular job. And I don't think people realize that he did that car up against a pretty aggressive deadline for Luft, got it done. And that was out of our group up here, that was the first car that went on Bring a Trailer.
Wow. Okay.
So the day that we arrived in Palm Springs, I think it was either that night or the next day, we all gathered around the pool at the Ace Hotel when it was, I think it must have been 36, 37 degrees, grabbed a drink, and, we were just watching the auction because Danny had put up the car up, and that was kind of the big exciting thing. And for us, quite honestly, we got to participate in Bring a Trailer in a way that we hadn't before.
Right. Yeah.
And he did spectacular. I think the car exceeded everybody's expectations, and I mean he was so excited and he was so taken aback that he immediately took off to LA with my car.
friends.
That was an
Yeah.
incredible auction. It really was a prelude
It
to
was.
things to come because 964s were not real. I mean, they were definitely coming up at the point, and everybody knew that 964s were on their way up. But that one in particular, with miles and had some issues here and there, but everyone expected that car to hit a certain number, and instead it probably hit a good 20 to 30% higher than everyone thought.
If I remember correctly, didn't it go six figures?
No, it did.
No,
It did not.
It didn't. I think it went just shy of 90.
Yeah, 88 or an 89, something like that.
Yeah, which at the time, quite honestly, everybody thought the car would probably, hit 65.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know this, but it just goes to show Danny's commitment to his craft.
Yeah.
The car he wasn't very happy with the paint on one of the quarter panels, and when the car was sold, there was probably about 4 or 5 days between that and the car got picked up.
Yeah.
He literally restripped half the car and repainted it because he wanted it to be perfect.
Oh man.
Yeah.
He's like, this is my business card, and I want that business card to be,
Are you hearing that, JP? Post auction, he painted the car. Post hammer.
Yeah.
He repainted it. Yeah.
That's a lot of freaking integrity, man. That's amazing.
He repainted the car. He reapplied all the livery on it. But yeah, that was it was really cool because I think at the time too. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Bring a Trailer was still somewhat fresh, and more importantly, it was that venue of auctions that was fresh.
Yeah.
For auctions.
Well, they had been doing it for a while, but they hadn't. But it really didn't take off. That was like the moment. It felt like.
Yeah, that was right on the cusp of mass adoption, and now everybody's watching.
Right.
Well, there it is, guys. And that's what kind of created this show. I will say that was a moment where it was like, all right, Bring a Trailer auctions really are something, and have been paying much closer attention to them ever since. And that's really how this show starts, because what we do here is we nerd out on the most interesting cars of the day on all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. So it's not just Bring a Trailer, but it's RAD For Sale. It's Cars and Bids. It's even Hemmings now and P-Car Market. So there's a lot of interesting stuff popping up just about every day, and we like discussing in those cars. We like nerding out about those cars, and we know that you like nerding out about that stuff too, because you look at the comments below these cars. That's what's interesting about all of these sites, is unlike the previous, like in the dark ages of eBay, where that was the only place you could auction a car. There was no interaction. When you look at a modern enthusiast auction site, there's just hundreds, if not thousands, of comments being generated every day. And so that's why we think there's an audience for this, even though nobody watches us.
You think back, JP, 25 years ago, and you'd open up the paper on the weekend and you look at the classifieds to see if there was a cool car in your area. Right. Yeah. And then you would call on it, and it's just you against that guy. And you have to remember your questions. You have to tell if he's telling the truth. And if you're really interested, then you might call the shop that it went to or whatever. All that's done for you in this new format. I mean, all the comments are there, and then you can engage with the seller publicly, which is incredible. Yeah.
Well, and to be fair, and I think in a lot of circumstances, especially if you were curious about, a car or getting into a certain type of vehicle, you were at the mercy of whatever knowledge you had at that moment, the seller had, and whatever, if you were lucky, some local expert mechanic. But outside of that, it was a tough marketplace.
Crapshoot.
Bring a Trailer should have been called Bring a Buddy. Bring a mechanic or something like that. Yeah. Well, there it is, guys. So we do discuss these cars every day. We pick five, and our top 5 cars of the day, and we make our predictions before the hammer hits the sound block. That's the little puck that you hit when you with the whole thing. That's if you're a fan of the show, you know that I can never remember the name of that thing. But we don't just make predictions and then walk away from it and say, "Hey, we're experts. Just listen to us." We check ourselves. We go back, and that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to talk about yesterday's cars and our predictions and how we did on our predictions. Yesterday we did have a third nerd as well. Who did we have yesterday?
Lane Skelton.
From DWA. All right, so one of the cars that we talked about was not even up for auction yesterday. We screwed that up, so that was the Cup car. So we're gonna skip over that one. We're gonna go right to
we'll pretend like we selected that car just for Lane because it's on his RAD For Sale platform. So that's true for him. But it was a day early, and while JP and I banked some predictions that we'll talk about tomorrow, that car hammers today. So we'll watch it, and we'll cover 6 cars tomorrow morning. But then, JP, we jumped up to cars and bids because Doug DeMuro had his first ever 2017 Mercedes-Benz G550 squared, which is just an unbelievable vehicle. I mean, I don't know. It's awesome. They are something to see. They're something to drive. They're something to behold. And they, by all accounts, they can't make them fast enough because they're holding their value, which means they cannot saturate the demand for these. Most Mercedes-Benz, especially the luxury ones, fall off a cliff in valuation as soon as you drive it home, but not these. This car is essentially 4 years old and had 5,000 miles on it. It sold for $226,000 when it was brand new.
Wow.
And so what we were doing is we had covered an acid green one with 3,000 miles on a different platform. And we really wanted to see how a very similar car would fare on Doug DeMuro's, because JP and I sort of suspect that Doug doesn't have the audience that can afford this car, not the guys that are really shopping for it. The caveat to that could be because they're so rare in the secondary market, somebody who's shopping one will hunt it down and find it, even if it's on Doug DeMuro's site. With all that in mind, I bid $188,000. JP said 185, and Lane said 199. He went really high on this one. And JP was the winner on this because it was bid to 183,000. In other words, that's what DeMuro's audience valued it at. But it did not meet the reserve, and it did not sell at that price. So by all accounts, the owner of this car is still probably trying to get close to 200,000 or 195 or whatever we think that sweet spot should be. But cars and bids, they're the ones that sort of let the consignor down. Mauricio, you ever driven in one of these things? You ever been in Rami's or you been in one up there by you?
I've been in an old one from, God, I can't believe that's old now, from the 80s. You know, I mean, they're pretty cool. I haven't.
Did your walker fit in it? I mean,
yeah. Oh, it was crazy because when I looked at it, all I saw was black and white. But anyway, I've been in an old one. They're great cars. I mean, the platform is fantastic. I haven't been in newer ones that are essentially more of a luxury car.
Right.
Well, yeah, but this one is next level. That, you know, if you've ever been in a G-Wagon, you can definitely see the crossover with most G-Wagons in general. But then you get this thing, and this is more like driving a tractor truck without a trailer than it is a G-Wagon. It's so high off the ground and has so much power, and it's just so goofy. Mauricio, you'd look good in one of these, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I just got a Benz wagon.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah,
which motor?
I got an E400, 3.3 V6 twin turbo, 8,500 miles. Whew, depreciation on that thing. Don't ever buy new.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Yeah. So yeah, they're a car. They're really nice car. Yeah, you know, the crazy thing is I do see a lot in down here, and you're always seeing them in these crazy colors.
Yeah, absolutely.
Green, blue, and I think the factory actually sells them with it.
Yeah, that acid green one was a $20,000 paint job, but by all accounts, this really is a different animal. It's the luxury yacht / Bigfoot of G-Wagons. I mean, they're still lined up to get it. So anyway, bid goes on that car. JP, we'll move over to Bring a Trailer, and we looked at this, just an unusual supercar, 2013 Aston Martin Zagato. They only made 6 to 1 of these things, Mauricio, and they were never officially imported to the United States. So somebody brought this car in a couple of years ago. It's got like 3,000 miles on the odometer. Somebody brought it in on the show and display, which is basically like having a classic car plate. Limited miles allocated on the insurance and limited miles allocated on the odometer. But by all accounts, you can have it in the States and drive it. The valuation on these, if it was at one of the big 3 auction houses and the guys were all drinking white wine and went for it, this would be a $700,000 car, maybe even $800,000, because where do you find another one in the United States? And so I tried to bid with my heart on this, that's what it was worth, and that Bring a Trailer would have the audience to find the buyer for this car because they're just so rare. And I was wrong. So I said $750,000. I definitely pulled JP's bid up. He went $720,000, and then Lane took the under at $700,000. This car it was at $510,000 when we were looking at it, and at the close of auction, it only made another $8,000. So it was bid to $518,000, which isn't even a wholesale price for one of these things. I mean, that's not near what it's truly worth. And so that car failed to sell. But it really is just too obscure. Like even BAT couldn't find the buyer for that thing. Just very weird. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I those are beautiful cars. I think there's still arguments to, what is a bring trailer car? Is there a threshold where now you have something that's so limited for an audience that it probably goes through a traditional auction house? I don't know. You don't know.
Yeah, well, Brand Trailer a couple months ago sold a 50s Mercedes Gullwing for $1.1 million on their natural auction. And I have to tell you, my jaw dropped. That's an impressive. Yeah. People were fighting over that car and brought fair value for it online. That's just amazing.
I still think $500,000 is way too much for the new Nissan Z car. I mean, this is just
absolutely.
That's because I'm pretty sure that's what this is. That's just a GTR.
Do you see hints of the Z in that, Mauricio? That was JP's take yesterday.
I don't know. I mean, Zagato.
Look at that rear window. Look at that. That is a GTR or a 370Z. That's what that is right there. Come on now.
But Zagato has always done a beautiful job with Aston Martin. Always.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think this one's really pretty, but JP kind of poo-pooed on it, so it was pretty funny yesterday. Well, we took.
That's a great car if it weren't so danged expensive, but to be that close to something that you could be like, is that a Datsun? I don't know. I like Datsuns, but not for $500,000. All right, what's next? What else did we talk about yesterday?
We saw a 2004 Porsche 911 40th anniversary model, and it was really funny. I think much to you and I's surprise.
Yeah.
Lane Skelton did not like this car at all and took issue with every component on the vehicle. He left no part number unturned. He didn't like the rear valance, the rockers, the narrow body, the headlights, the grille, the seats, the leather, the IMS bearing, and the
bigger motor, more power, all the things that are great about this car. He's like, that sucks.
He nerd-turded all over this, and it was really funny. Cousin Mark said, "Oh man, that guest today was really negative, and he pissed off JP's Porsche sensibilities." He goes, "That was awesome to watch." So Mark thought it was really funny watching you try to handle Lane, who did not like this car at all. And of course, I'm like sitting here going, "I want one," because JP's kind of like turned me on to the potentiality of this car. And 345 horsepower and rear-wheel drive at 3,000 pounds. Sign me up. I'll take one all day.
The idea that anyone on the face of the planet would prefer a Mark 1 996 over this car is just patently ridiculous. Mauricio, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, yes. I think you summed it up really well.
Yeah, he said that 3.4 was pure and that this car had been basically diluted and that there was nothing to it, that there was a terrible parts bin car. And JP and I were like, okay.
Yeah, all right. Lane, we love you, but you need to change the name of Driving While Awesome to Driving While What the... I mean, this is just absurd. This is a fantastic car. Where did it land, Deeb?
So anyways, it did have a little mark on the Carfax because there had been a fender bender in its previous history. And so we suspected that might hold it back. And I think we were right. A 60,000 mile car with an IMS bearing should bring over 40. And this one was nice. It wasn't great. Lane was right. It wasn't like cosmetically a gem. This was a driver. So I said 38. You said 34. Lane went really low and 32 because he didn't like the car. The car sold for $35,500, and you got that win as well. If we're scoring that at home, we messed up the 944 Cup on RAD for sale. We'll look at that result tonight and talk about it tomorrow. And our final car was something we wound up spending more time on. It was kind of fun to see how everybody kind of opened up and had something to say about this 2004 Ferrari 360 Spider with a manual gearbox. A few modifications, and we cautioned that the Ferrari buyer doesn't really like the cars when they're modded. So, the aftermarket stereo and the Tubi exhaust and the 430 wheels might in some way hold it back because there wasn't necessarily a photograph of the stock exhaust, the stock wheels, and the stock head unit. So, it's kind of a weird thing. And the Ferrari market is, believe it or not, even more finicky than the Porsche market. That being said, all of us want to drive this thing. No matter how ugly we agreed the headlights were, everybody would like to own and drive this car. So anyways, I suspected that it would not break the $100,000 threshold because of the mods and a lack of, better explanation about them. And I could not have been more wrong. JP, you said 100, and Lane, well, this car had incredibly long finish and brought a Wagon, and I mean all the money, $122,000. JP, just to put this in perspective, We sold a 2004 360 coupe with 10,000 miles and racing seats and a manual from the factory, and it only brought $125,000. So I mean,
that was on Stratus though, right?
Yeah, right.
So you got to think that if it were on this auction platform, that would have brought $150 or more. I think this car, I think this car brought under money. I think all the things that you were talking about, all the finicky stuff that Ferrari people are. Yeah. I think this car is exactly what you said, and still brought $120, which means that a coupe version of this is got to be worth $150 to $180 at this point.
The only 04 coupe with racing buckets and a manual, and for the entire North American market, around 125, and that breaks my heart because that car was beautiful. So anyway,
well, Mauricio, what do you think of this car, man? Did you?
Sorry for asking.
No, that's fine. I think I don't know the Ferrari market that well, but I know that that there's a group out there that still is looking for the last of the stick shift Ferraris, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
This is one of two choices. The next one is the 430, and the difference there is the 430, fewer sticks, chain-driven cams, so you don't have to have that expensive $8,000 timing belt every 3-4 years. And then more power. So 430 sticks that are harder to find are now bringing more than Scuderia money at like 200 and up. So these are the last great bargains with a manual transmission. You're talking 415 horsepower. This feels like a 997 GT3, and the shifter is actually is pleasant to use. And with the motor right behind your ear, you actually hear the intake and the exhaust. And a cab is absolutely the way to go. They are great driving cars. You feel like you're in a race car.
Yeah, but I agree that, to me, it seems like a car like this would fetch more. I mean, it seems like a deal,
Well, and they might be moving up because 430s are stratospheric now. They're bringing money that doesn't make sense. So 360s are going to be the next ones to come up. And so get one while you can. There you go. That's a day, JP.
All right. So that was yesterday. Those are the cars we nerded out on yesterday. So now it's time to get to today's cars. We've got a pretty cool lineup today. We're actually starting with one of my favorite cars of all time. I have owned one of these, and I regret having gotten rid of it. I feel like of all the cars I've ever owned and driven, it's definitely the most fun car to have ever driven, even though it's quite possibly the worst car you could possibly own when it comes to cars. On paper, this is this is the worst car there is. However,
isn't this one of Ralph Nader's favorite cars?
I'm sure he loves this. The Volkswagen Thing from 1974. Look at that. Deeb, tell us about this specific car. What do we got here?
Well, so our car is offered to us out of, as soon as I find it, Nashville, Tennessee. True mileage unknown, which is kind of to be expected. This is a 1974 Volkswagen Thing. Technically, it's called a Type 181. It employs a 1600cc air-cooled overhead valve flat 4. And JP, they just have a 4-speed manual transmission. But are all-wheel drive.
No. They're rear-wheel drive.
No.
I'm from a city. I don't know anything about
Careful there.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing then because these things really do go anywhere, and they're only rear-wheel drive, which I didn't even know. I have yet to drive one in my life, but I'd be all over this one. This one turns. They are moving in the right direction, and they just have their own unique following. What's the name of that event you guys do up in Seattle where you guys mog around?
Mogfest.
Mogfest. There you go. Yeah. So this would be, you'd be the darling. This is the car everybody would take a picture of if you were at Mogfest.
They're fantastic cars. I mean, it's the build platform, which is bulletproof in my opinion.
Yeah.
But they're great cars. They're in huge demand right now because everybody sort of came back around them, and it's like, so they're actually kind of cool. But, there was I don't know if you guys knew this, if there was a joint cooperative effort with Porsche on a limited edition 181. I think, did you know about that?
Yeah.
We may have heard something about that. We should have brought that up.
Should show that documentary.
Yeah, it's a great documentary. I think it's on YouTube or something.
We should show it at the end of the month, JP. It's actually pretty timely. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
The nice ones now, what we're seeing, Mauricio, is that the nice ones now are showing up in the big auction houses.
Yeah.
They're like the first car to run or the last car to run. but the nice ones that have been restored are now fetching over $20,000. Even though you guys know these, you know, you used to be able to get a decent one for $8,000. Now a decent one's going to cost you 14. And JP's been looking to replace his ever since he sold it. I absolutely believe that these were all-wheel drive because they truly go anywhere. It makes it more marvelous that this thing can go in and out of the mud, and it's just rear-wheel drive. They're not fast, they're not freeway, but they are all about
fun.
Enjoyment. And you could drop that windshield, right? Doesn't it fall down? So there you go.
No, I think
what else do you say? Yeah,
I think the vintage Volkswagen market is actually hot right now. I mean, you know, you're looking at oval windows, early square windows, split windows. I mean, split windows, good luck trying to find something under $100,000.
Yep.
That's been completely gone through. So I think the thing, you know, I would argue that these cars are actually probably the really nice ones. They're closer to 30, 35,000, you know, for one that's been completely redone.
Yeah, one that's been like an Acapulco or something like that.
Yeah.
JP is going to take issue with that. He's not asleep tonight.
Yeah. So,
but there's your Porsche Type 181 right there. There you go, guys. It's in print. It must be true.
I saw one on the internet. I saw one on the internet. They exist. I saw one. This guy in Vegas had one.
Yeah.
It's so true. No, look, the reason why these cars are so good off-road is it's the same reason that 911s are so good on-road. It's because the engine is sitting directly over the traction wheels. And when you go around a corner, what happens? That engine pushes down on those tires and it sticks to the pavement. Same thing happens when you're in the muck and the dirt. And there's nothing more fun than going up a trail and reaching the top of the mountain and seeing a fleet of Wranglers and a bunch of dudes in plaid, you know, just like, what the hell? How'd you get up here in that Volkswagen? Shucks, is that a four-wheel drive? And they're like, nope.
All the weight in the back, nice low geared, nice slow skinny tires, and they're fantastic.
The other
JP,
thing, go ahead.
Pretty decent bucket of photos here for this car. Are you okay with this, or would you?
This once again, Hemmings fail. Hemmings fail. Look at this. As you're going through the photos, they're what is that? Rasterizing. They're all narrow, goofy looking. It's like they can't even load photos on their stupid platform correctly. And then they put them in these different batches. So if you want to look at the exterior, you got to go in this bucket. Then you got to X out of it, and then listen to a squeak toy, and then go on the interior. I was wondering what the heck that was. So
it's clown roommate.
So that's why you like Volkswagens. You guys all live in one. Yeah, this is what we're seeing is inside of a Beetle right there, and you got
exactly.
Yeah. No, I mean Hemmings, get your crap together, guys. This is embarrassing. I mean, look at these photos. If the seller is sending you bad photos, demand that they send you good ones. This is not going to work, guys. This is so stupid. This makes me angry that they're even trying in this field. Hemmings, get your crap together. You're failing big time.
Mauricio, final thoughts on this car? Sorry, JP.
You know, I think it's I looked at it. It's a tough car because the car has some issues, but it's one of those cars that it looks good. But, somebody could buy it and just get in and go. I think it's a great car for that. But, if somebody's looking to actually redo this car and do something, it sucks when you have to start high. Yeah, you have to start high, So I don't know. I think this car, what is it at now? 12.
It's at 5 hours to go. It's on $12,000.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think the car probably fetch 15.
15? That's not a bad bid. That's not a bad bid at all.
Yeah, because I think this is a car that, quite honestly, would probably be better suited on the Samba, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the expectation is that it's going to get higher than that. But I think for the person that knows these cars, it's going to probably go around 15.
Okay. All right, JP, my bid. No, I don't think it's a bad car, but like you said, it might be too expensive to start a project on. I think JP's philosophy is to try and find a car that's less publicized regionally, and that's where the value might be. So if it's going to pay a retail price on a national auction platform, then you'd want it to be more perfect. I'd rather spend 20 and get one that doesn't need everything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, get one that's a lot less money than this, that maybe only needs a little more work because you're going to go through it anyways. JP, I think this car doesn't break 20. here. So I'm going to say 18,000 and then 15 from Mauricio. What do you got?
Where is it? Where is it at right now?
It's on $12,000 with under 5 hours to go out of Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyone paying more than $9,000 for this is an idiot. This thing's got corrosion all over it. It's a bad repaint, and some of that corrosion is coming through that bad repaint. I mean, there really is a lot of like cancer underneath. It's not just that surface stuff. It's got a nice top. Yeah, it's got a roll bar. Yeah, it looks like the engine's okay. But yeah, this is not a nice thing, unfortunately. And I think $12,000 is all the money for it. It'll probably bring more because people are romantic about them owning one of these. If you don't like talking to people, do not buy one of these because everyone has a story about this car.
That's funny. So true.
Yeah, which is part of the fun. Go ahead.
However, the pluses are it's a bright car. A lot of them are not. I think most of them are orange or blue or white. It is all there from what it looks like. It's an early one. It's got the baby ones, right?
White and orange are the only colors they came into America. Anyone that you see that's a different color is either been repainted or was brought in from Mexico. FYI.
Right.
This one is Mexico VIN tag on, so this is a Mexico car. So
I think the corrosion on the thing is just too awful. I mean, you could get away with driving this thing around, but you can find ones this good for less on the Samba. I don't think this car would do very well on the Samba because everyone would see all those pictures and go, this thing's garbage. So the fact that you could get someone to pop on some romance on this thing, that's how you're going to sell this car. And if they had actually gotten some decent photos of the thing and Hemmings auction, I mean, I at 12 grand, somebody's doing great already. And if they wind up, if this were on BAT or some other place, you'd get even more romantic people going, "Woo, I gotta have this." Did I give a number after all that nerd-turding all over this thing?
No,
you said 9,000, but I don't think it's going to go.
Well, no. Yeah, I think that's what it's worth, not what it's going to sell for. We are guessing the platform. Yeah. I'm going to say, what did you say, Mauricio? I forgot already.
He said 15.
He's 15. I was going to say 15. Yeah, I'll go 14. I mean, there's just no way this is getting over. There's no way this is getting 20. If it does, I'm wrong about Hemmings. Hemmings is great. Do what you want.
I mean, the other, not to get off track, but the other thing that I've been noticing in the Volkswagen world too. I mean, I started with Volkswagens is everybody's looking for numbers matching now, which man, good luck.
Oh, good luck with that.
Yeah.
Say no to
those motors are long gone. So, but I think 15.
Okay. All right. There we go. All right, JP, let's jump over to cars and bids. This is a Bay Area, no reserve, 2008 Audi S6. This is the Lamborghini-derived V10. This car is unmodified, but it does have some miles on it. It has 135,700 miles offered out of Martinez, California. 2-liter V10, all-wheel drive, automatic speed. This is your, junior executive, second-tier performance luxury sedan. It's an RS car, but by all accounts, these are fun. A little bit firmer suspension, a little better seats. And that motor, even though it's detuned, is probably really fun to drive. If you had to commute on the freeway, you could do a lot of worse than this. I don't imagine it gets very good gas mileage, but that's not really the point of this car.
No.
This car does have a very subtle FU money attached to it, a little cachet. Only flaws really have to do with wear and tear, as you would expect on a car with over 130,000 miles on it. But these are neat things because they don't make them like that anymore. And finding a V10 under a quiet luxury sedan, it's just, this car is kind of an anomaly. And they're not worth very much money in the secondary market. With just 12 minutes to go, this will close before the end of the show.
Unfortunately, the cost of the service hasn't gone down, though.
Not at all. Yeah. This car is sitting at $7,800 on 21 bids. So just to expedite this one, because it is closing, I'm just going to give it to you. Mauricio, I already said $12,000. So what do you think of this car? And then give us your bid, please.
Man, they're awesome cars, but it's got 135,000 miles on it. Right?
Yeah.
So
no warranty.
No warranty. It's a cool car. It's got all the fun factors of an Autobahn cruiser, but how much is a tune-up on a V10?
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's the classic scenario where a lot of people, just because you can afford to buy the car doesn't mean you can afford to own the car.
JP's been saying that a lot about the audience for European cars on Cars and Bids. Dr. Miro, we has a pretty young audience that have to borrow money to buy these cars. Right. And it just doesn't pencil as a smart purchase or a viable purchase. And we think that's part of what's holding his platform back, where it looks like P-Car's taking a step. It doesn't look like Cars and Bids has. So great take.
I don't think that car's going to break 10 grand.
There you go. Good take. All right, JP.
I mean, I don't. I would say, 9,900.
Where's it at right now, Mike?
$7,800.
$7,800. I say it gets $8,200.
Yeah.
I mean, it's DOA. No, even dumb people that want old Audis know this is that's scary. This one's really.
In some ways, it's kind of sad because the era of these cars is practically over, and I think that these cars are going to disappear from history because of that.
Right.
That these cars, I think, were in the era of leasing or just owning it for a few years until the warranty expired. Because
that's exactly right.
There's no way. I had a Passat W8, loved it, hit 80,000 miles, gone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. A lot of plastic gears in that engine. Lots of plastic components. And I think, Audi did it to themselves. It's their fault. That's an atrocity in the automotive world. They just ruined it for the future. I mean, what the heck were you guys thinking? It's just like, I don't know, whatever. Anyways, let's move on. That car's a piece of crap.
All right, we're going to jump over to Bring a Trailer, and we found a replacement 1991 BMW 850i. This is a no-reserve auction offered out of Encino, California. Again, 37,000 miles on the 5-liter M70 V12. Unfortunately, in this itineration, it's mated to a 4-speed automatic, which is absolutely going to hold this car back. If this car was a stick, it would probably bring twice the money or more, and that's not an exaggeration. Finished in a very polarizing, I would say, Calypso red over gray leather, which doesn't do anything for me. The only you can see it's got a darker dash. Look, the body on this is pretty. The colorway doesn't for me at all, and I don't think it came on those wheels, to be honest. 17-inch style 18 wheels, those are a replacement wheel, even if a correct BMW wheel. It also looks like there's an aftermarket exhaust sticking out of the rear of the thing. Listen, these cars with the manuals are moving, into six-figure territory, but this ain't one of them. So despite the low miles, this is just a Grand Tour. Even the manual ones are just Grand Tours, but this is kind of a boring ride because 4-speed slush box is garbage. Probably ZF arrived and probably slow as wind erosion. Mauricio, what do you think? Have you driven one of these? Have you ever lust after 8-seaters? Was there a weak moment in history you were like, oh, that's cool?
Man, I'm going to get so much hate mail for this. I don't get the hype around the BMWs.
Yeah.
I've had them. They're fun cars, but, the whole ultimate driving machine, not so. I've been in them. I've driven one. It's a fun sports car.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Is this really a sports car, though? I mean, can you call it a sports car?
It's a Grand Touring. Is the new 911 kind of? I would argue the new 911 is kind of a GT.
I don't know. You can
creeping into that territory.
When it's time to make a 911 do what you want it to do, it will. This car, no chance. It can never get there. Somebody this week, one of our other third nerds, was it Reese or was it Lane? Said this was the most disappointing car he's ever driven in his entire life. It was Reese, right? And I've driven manual ones, and they're pretty darn fun, but they are not sports cars for sure. And so maybe an automatic one would this be a great kind of daily driver cruise to your I don't know if you sell yachts or something. Who buys this car? Especially in this colorway. I don't get it.
I think in some ways you could easily throw this into the same bucket as the Audi to a certain extent, where again this is a car where what is the long-term livelihood of this car in history, right? I mean it's boring. I mean, I'm sorry, it's boring.
I cannot. Boring to drive or boring to look at? Because to look at, I think this thing is spectacular from a design point of view.
No, well, if we're talking about this car specifically, it's boring. The color combination is boring. You know, it's just boring. You know, yeah. When the car came out, I think the design was beautiful. You know, it's BMW. I think was trying to recapture something that had been lost for quite some time. But you know, it's a boring car. I mean, I don't know what's.
JP, that's twice this week that this platform has been turted on. The nerd herd does not like the 8 Series BMW. I mean, that is
apparently not.
I mean, I would argue that the 7 Series from this era, before you know they turned into that kind of globular sort of thing.
Right.
I think that's a sportier looking car than this.
Right. Well,
wait, a 2-door with no B pillar, wide open shark isn't as sporty looking as a 740 from the era. What is that? An E30 or I don't know. Can't remember. But no, the interiors of these are so. I mean, it's so minimalist. This seems like it would be right up your alley. I'm shocked that you don't like the design of these. I totally get the performance thing, but holy cow, look at how just smooth and flowing and minimalist. Not to use the same word twice, but I mean that is just a fantastic interior. If it weren't such a horrible color, I love the dual glove box where you get a glove box on the top and the bottom. Because everyone needs a separate box for each glove. So you put your left glove up here and your right glove and the one on the bottom. Right. I'm pretty sure that's what it says to do in the manual.
Or your Encyclopedia Britannica manual.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So which car would you guys rather have? Would you guys rather have the Audi with the 10-cylinder or this car?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I'd take the Audi.
Oh, that's crazy talk, crazy.
Yeah, I would take the Audi. I mean,
talk.
You know, here's the reason why, right? It's like I'm not going to keep this car. I'm going to have fun with it, and this thing it just screams of boring. I mean, it's you know.
But this car screams more boring than the Audi. That Audi, if you blink, it looks like just a $2,000 regular Audi A6. At least this,
that's right.
Yeah, this thing at least looks like something kind of exotic. I mean, boring.
No, it's the thing. It's like wheels make it look boring. The color makes it look boring. You know?
Yeah, because wheels are so hard to change. I don't know. Can you take wheels off? I think once they're on, it's permanent. You cannot change them.
You know. What are the rules of the game? Do I have to take the car as is?
Yeah. They're the rules that I make up because it's my show. There it is. Where do we think this is going to land, Michael Deeb? With 37,000 miles. Yeah.
Again, go ahead, Mauricio.
Was that a cassette player in the dash?
Probably.
It comes with both a Slayer cassette and a Def Leppard cassette. So this car is definitely. And Toto. You can listen to the original.
Toto.
Comes the rain,
yeah.
This car comes with a Michael Bolton. The automatic comes with a Michael Bolton cassette, that's for sure. Yanni. Okay, JP, again, offered out of Encino, California with just 37,000 original miles, is the 850 on no reserve. Under 3 hours to go, sitting at $19,250. I don't think the car is going to bring $30,000. I think the transmission holds it back, but I do think it's going to cross 25. I'm going to say $26,000, and of course it's going to sell because it's reserve. It's only on 17 big, so it's not getting a lot of love. And again, I think it's because of the gearbox more than anything else. So Mauricio, where are you at?
23.5.
Ooh, he's bearish on this. Huh?
Deeb, what did you say?
26.
All right, I'm going over you. I'm going 30 because yesterday, or was it the day before? Was it yesterday? We had the same basic color combination of that SL500. That
Mercedes,
that 2000, or I think it was a 99 or 2000 or something like that.
02, you know, about 45,000 miles.
And I was looking at that car. I was like, in this color, you want to talk about boring? I'm so with you. This color combination is the worst color combination known to cars. And that car, I mean, at least this car looks like a sports car. It may not drive like one, but it looks like one. The SL500 in that color, everyone else would say that yes, this looks like a sports car. Wink, wink at you, Mauricio. No, in a terrible color combination, but low miles European car. This is definitely a more sought after car than a 500 SL. And that 500 SL went for $45,000. I think this thing's going to find 30, and there might even be sky from there.
Wow.
Not that I think it's worth it. For the record, I wouldn't pay that much money for it, and I think this is a terrible car in a lot of ways. But there's a batch of people that want this thing, and they're just waiting.
All right, JP, let's go to Stuttgart. We've got a couple of Porsches now, and these will be very interesting to juxtapose to one another. So maybe when we get to the second one, we'll compare it to the value of the first one, which is a 2008 Porsche Boxster, and it's the RS60 Spider, the special edition that is literally numbered. They made 1960 of these to be a homage to the RS Spider of 1960 that was a legendary racing car in Porsche's history.
Right.
Our car is number 1014 of 1960 produced, offered out of Sacramento, California, with just 38,000 miles on the odometer. JP, now correct me when I'm wrong. A 2008 is not exempt to an IMS bearing. Is that correct?
That is correct, sir.
Well, there's no mention of an IMS bearing being done on this car. They just simply forgot to mention it based on what I read when I zipped through it. By all accounts, these cars are really cool. They only came in GT Silver. They came with these full red leather interiors and a couple of cool trick detail pieces like the front air dam, the badges, the numbered badges, and they took the cowling, the sort of awning, off the top of the gauges in front of the drivers to give you more of this sort of old school style and look. Our car is a manual. It has limited slip differential. It has a short throw shifter from Porsche. It has the Bose sound system and the Sport Chrono package. It's just not the prettiest car with that full red leather, but by all accounts, probably a really fun car to drive. By the numbers, JP, these are like 2,900 pounds, and they have 300 horsepower and 250 pound-foot of torque. Our car is sitting at $38,000, which is pretty good money, but only on 7 bids, which suggests that there is not a big rally around this car. So where's it going to go? What do you think, Mauricio, of these? Are you a Boxster apologist or not?
Oh, I love Boxsters. I mean, I think they're fantastic cars. You know, when the Boxster came out and as the 911 started to kind of swell up, I think there was a period where everybody said, you know, the Boxster and the Cayman are the new 911. The formula of what a 911 is supposed to be. I think these are great cars. I think they're fantastic cars. They're actually pretty reliable. They're fun. I think that, you know, I'll disagree with you in a little bit that I think a lot of people might view the color combo, the silver and red, as something attractive that harks back to an era that, you know, was prior. I think it's a wonderful car. I think my guess, probably 43, 44, you know, because I think a lot of these sort of limited edition, you know, water-cooled cars are, you know, outside of the GT cars, there is this audience that's starting to pay attention to them. You know, you look at that 40th anniversary 996. Believe it or not, there's a group of people that are actively pursuing those cars.
Absolutely.
You're looking at one, Maurice.
I'm half-heartedly looking at one for myself.
Yeah.
I agree with you on this car. When you pair the sport seats that this car has, the shouldered seats, the short throw shifter, and the diff, I think this is a recipe for a lot of fun. And man, you know, you can really keep up with almost anything in this car when the road gets twisty. And I appreciate that. And just for the record, I've owned a BMW with a full red leather interior, so I'm not against it, but it might be polarizing. I don't know.
It would be way better if the dash was black or something like that. Just pull that red back. A little too much red can happen really quick. But I'm with Mauricio. I think there's an audience for it. The big question I have for both of you guys is, okay, this is a really cool Boxster with all this cool stuff. Is it really worth the extra money? How much different is this from a regular old Boxster S? It's really not. Whereas the Spider that they came out with just a year later, really that was a genuine RS car. Right. This thing just is like, all right, well they took the top off the gauges and then they're calling this a Spider. I don't get it. What do you think, Mauricio? Do you think it's worth the extra money?
I think it is worth the extra money for the reason that, you know, the Porsche guys are, you know, I have a puppy. The Porsche guys are, you know, some of the Porsche collectors out there and even the ones that are aspiring to be, they want those special cars. They want the first of something. They want something that is not as, because the Spiders, you know, to your point, the Spiders are really cool. Everybody knows about them, right? Yeah. The RS4 I think, that came down. Was that no?
What are we talking
GT4.
about?
Sorry.
Oh, the GT4. Yeah.
You know, those cars. You know, they came down the road, but this is something new. This is something that kind of started that lineage of special edition Boxsters.
Right.
And it is. I think it's just enough of a different car where people are going to like it. You know, for the very things that you pointed out as simple modifications.
Yeah,
that's the very reason people want this stuff.
Absolutely.
It's no different than, you know, the guys that, you know, oh my God, this car is, you know, whatever sort of blue that was, you know, a paint to sample and can only still them you go across 20 continents.
Yeah. Porsche did just enough to grade that they are just better than the sum of their parts, that they made them special, and then they numbered them. And the numbering thing is a whole other debate. You know, it's like, oh, what edition? But they made 1,000 of them. I'm like, well, like you give them, you know, they're not unobtainium.
And Porsche is the master of that. I mean, Porsche knows how to get an audience simply by digging through the parts bin and making something different, and then saying, hey, there's only X amount. They're gone.
Yeah,
you know.
So Michael D, where's this one going to land? What's it going to?
My original bid was 43, and then Mauricio said 43, 44. So I'll park Mauricio at 44. I'll take the 43 if that's okay, and we'll turn it to you, JP.
Where's it at now?
It's at 38 on 7 bids with just 2 hours and 43 minutes to go. Sacramento, California.
Yeah, and I'll go $1,000 under you, Deeb. I mean, I think this is. I mean,
42. Yeah, that's all right.
Look, this car. I don't think it's worth over 40 grand. I think it's just patently absurd that anyone would spend that much more money than because this generation of Boxster I think is fantastic. A Boxster S. I would way rather have a regular Boxster S in black on black or white one or some other color and just change the wheels up and do a few mods that I would like. And you could do that for 25 grand to spend almost twice as much money for a stupid badge. And I think, Mauricio, you're absolutely right that Porsche is the master at like making something special. But I also think that they're master at kind of fleecing people by, oh, well, we're going to put a badge on it with a number. That means it's special. Oh, hey, watch. The Americans are going to buy this. I think it's just goofy. They're great cars, but not worth the extra money unless for some reason that little placard means something to you. I think you could get the same or better car for less money and put a little money aside to get yourself an air cooled to park next to this thing in your driveway if this is your first car.
But my argument with that is that, you know, we're all looking at this as Porsche guys and sports car guys and petrol heads. And I think that, you know, the person that, again, there is this other audience out there that says, this is a limited edition Porsche that's within my reach.
Right.
You know?
Right. And it works.
It totally works.
And they may buy it. I guess I'm criticizing that person. Straight up. I'm saying that person just seems goofy to me. I personally don't see the value, but I do agree with you, Mauricio, that person is in fact out there, and which may drive the price of this car higher than what I think it's worth or should be. And maybe this car even sees higher numbers.
Yeah, it's already there. Like E38 is already too much for this car.
Yeah.
You could recreate it for less money, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's compare the value of that car. So in other words, we're talking 42, 43, 44 for a 38,000-mile Boxster S with a badge, or this 2004 911 C4S with just 25,000 miles offered out of Encino, California, 6-speed manual, 300 horsepower. Clearly, JP, if you read the tea leaves correctly, this car is the subject of a lemon law buyback with a branded title. But we all know that these cars had failed motors with the bad IMS bearing. I'm guessing, without even being in the room, that somebody had that. Porsche wouldn't pick it up. And so they went to the California government or wherever the lemon law thing took place, and they said, hey, this car broke and the manufacturer won't happen. And so somebody had to come in and mediate this argument over what was probably a detonated motor and force Porsche to buy it back. So now you've got a branded title, but by all accounts, the motor's been rebuilt. I'm guessing the updated bearing is in there. And now you've got this car that's way undervalued. I should also note that one of the second owner of this car exported the car to the UK in 2008 and brought it back to the United States in 2009. So on top of the lemon law buyback, this car has had a trip overseas legally and is brought back in. By all accounts, a 25,000-mile black C4S with a manual transmission is now pushing $50,000. And yet, John and Mauricio, our car's got 2 hours to go out of Encino, California, and is sitting at just $31,000. This looks like it's poised to be a screaming deal for somebody who doesn't care about the paperwork. So, Mauricio, what do you think? This is a big debate with John and I. We bounce it back and forth. You know, John always says, an accident on the car pack shouldn't hold it back. It's not like the title's branded. Well, in this instance, the title is branded, and I actually care less about that than I do about an accident in its history. This car was never banged up, so by all it's just somebody had an argument they couldn't settle. So I don't give a shit about a branded title. Now, again, I also would know that going in that when I buy it, I'm not going to get full retail for it. But I would love to pick this car up for $10,000 or $15,000 below market value because it's got the scarlet letter. Who gives a shit? So, Mauricio, how do you weigh in on this argument that JP and I have, and not against each other, but just to debate it and like talk about it?
I mean, honestly, I think what's it at? 31.
31,000 with 25,000 miles on an 04 C4S.
Yeah, I mean, I think given the pedigree of the car, I think it's already too high. I mean, I think that car, and talking specifically about the circumstance of this car. That car's got some baggage, you know, and I think the consumer out there is going to be, you know, hey. So I don't know. I do think that the C4S and the 996 Turbo are aging better, you know, than they were even 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
I think it is.
996s are on a pretty good climb over the last 2 years for sure.
Yeah, you get a ton of bang for your buck.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah. You know, it's an insane amount of bang for your buck. I mean, the 911 formula is there and it works, but I don't know. I mean, I'm surprised that it's at 31, to be honest.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
With I mean, it's got those hideous wheels. Like
the wheels are terrible.
Where did those wheels come from? I've seen those wheels around.
You can't change the wheels. Remember that.
Yeah. I'm just curious where they actually came from, though, because I keep seeing people putting them on cars.
They were a Porsche Cadillac part number.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things that you could buy at the parts counter after your car landed on the ground. They never delivered.
They never really, that wheel never came out on a car? Oh, that's interesting. I was wondering about that.
I mean, what little reputation I have, I would gamble it on that. I'm almost positive that was an aftermarket Porsche wheel, and they're terrible.
Just hideous.
My argument is, though, this car's on the stock wheels and it doesn't have a branded title. Would you guys agree that a 25,000 mile car would be like 48,000 retail or almost 50 grand?
Sure.
Yeah.
So
but this car isn't that.
Right.
What's weird to me is like that little extra wing on the back and these weird wheels and this whole thing. And I know all that stuff can be removed, but what I'm looking at is going, well, what part of the story are we missing? There's a lot of big gaps here, and I think that's why, you know, it's like, okay, it went to the UK for a while. What happened there? You know, I mean, you say that it hasn't been in any actual accidents, and you're probably right, but do we know? I mean, this car just seems so ambiguous, and I love black on black C4S 996s. This car is the bee's knees, as it is so close yet so far away. And I'm with Mauricio. I am shocked that anyone would pay more than 25 grand for this, because, and especially given that 6 months ago this was a $19,000 car, if that. And it's like, whoa! I guess they really are shooting up. Unbelievable.
All right. Well, JP,
what do you think it's going to land at, Deeb?
All right. So with just 2 hours to go out of Encino, California, this branded title, no reserve auction, is just 25,000 original miles. The car did spend a little bit of time in the UK, but it's a low mile black on black C4S with a few extra add-ons that, like you said, could definitely be removed. I feel stupid. You guys have just turned it all over this. So now I'm embarrassed by my bid. But knowing that these cars can bring 50 grand, I still think there's a great valuation here if you take like $15,000 off of that for the branded title. So I'm going to say $35,000, but this car hasn't gotten any bids this morning. So we'll see. It might not make that. What do you say?
Mauricio, what do you think?
Yeah. 32.
Wow. There you go. Strong opinion.
I don't know. I think the audience for this car is very limited, and you're seeing it in the auction.
Yeah.
But you know, BAT does get late rallies, especially when it comes to Porsches.
Yeah.
I mean, people
Mauricio,
just wait around to the end.
I do want to caution you with that statement. There's 28 bids on this thing. I mean, there's a little now, not a watch, 1,500 watchers, 50,000 views. Not if it was just a standard for us, that would be like 100,000 views, and
Sure.
15,000 watts. So, but there's people, people are positioning themselves to try and steal this thing. No reserve, it's going to go. So, yeah, JP, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to split the difference and go 33. I mean, Deeb, I actually think you're right. I think 35 really is the number. I think if people are going to pay, someone's willing to pay 31 on this, why not pay 35? I mean, it's just like
No, to me, knowing that in all likelihood this car did not hit anything. You're talking about scarlet letter on the title for a $15,000 discount. I'm still going to get that number out of it, or just enjoy it and drive it into the ground. I'd be happy to put the next 75,000 miles on this car over 6 years. That'd be a blast. I would rip this car apart. That would be so much fun. So anyways, I think the value's there, even if I'm a little out on an island on this one. But there you go, JP, that's a show. Mauricio, right on, man.
Thank you.
Tell us about the Peugeot thing, the vintage poster in the background.
That's just, I'm into vintage posters. I have a lot of automotive posters. That one just caught my eye. Peugeot made a lot of stuff.
Absolutely.
So they made cars. So they made motorized bikes.
Yep.
They still make bicycles.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was just.
It's pretty. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Great backdrop. I love JP's got the ice machine from your area. You must have known that guy that had the ice machine.
Kai, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big poster behind JP, and then an artist out of Minnesota, Greg Gossel, did this thing behind me. Yeah. Very pop art, which I love that style. So anyways, just wanted to give you a little shout out. That thing looks really good behind you.
Thank you.
All of your cash in that.
All right. There's a couple more floating around. So.
Mauricio, if you ever go to Mauricio's place, Deeb, he actually has you rivaled on automotive.
Let's do it. Yeah,
it's pretty amazing, his collection of stuff.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it. Automotive.
Borderlining on hoarder. I mean, you've got some tchotchkes, buddy.
Yeah. There's a new idea for you guys. Automotive cribs.
Cribs? I do. Automotive hoarders.
Esther and I are trying to make our way back out to Vegas, sometime this summer. And as soon as I land, JP and I will try to move this thing into we'll probably get like some sort of commercial warehouse with a roll-up door, and we'll put a studio in there, and then we can throw up all the art. So there'll be like fun posters. You'll love it. You'll feel very at home there, Mauricio. I promise.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, very cool.
Mauricio, are you regretting ever having met me and coming on this show? Or are you going to come back sometime?
No. I'll come back.
Yeah,
I'll always come back. No, this is
a good time, right?
Thank you, guys.
All right. Well, Mauricio from 3 Pedal Posse. Mauricio, tell everyone where they can find all their 3PP stuff.
The best place to find our stuff and to reach out to me is through Instagram, which is 3 Pedal Posse. So reach us through Instagram, send me a DM, say hi. If I'm in your hood, I will always make an effort to swing by and say hello. So
I need some 3PP decals for my 84.
Consider it done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm getting low on 3PP decals. All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching a Thursday edition of Bid Nerds, your daily nerd out on the most interesting cars on all the automotive enthusiast auto auction sites. Thanks for watching, and make sure you hit the subscribe, the like button, the notification button. We do this show live. Sometimes the show, depending on sometimes it doesn't show up after it's live. So if you go onto our YouTube channel and it's like it was an hour, the show was an hour ago. The show is there. Do a search for today's show, but sometimes it just doesn't show up for a couple of hours, but it is there. I know it's confusing. Thanks a lot, YouTube. But otherwise, but if you subscribe and like and hit the notifications buttons, all those things actually help.
We just want to assure our audience that Patootie has already reached out to YouTube and penned a very strongly worded email, and I think we're going to get some results.
Nice.
JP, let's not forget, we're going to have Kelly Smith from Haggerty on tomorrow. Is that still teed up?
The word on the street is he's coming. He's coming.
Awesome.
Yeah.
The man, the myth, the legend. So that'll be cool.
Kelly's a good conversation.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
he knows.
He's a great guy.
He knows the thing. So we're very much looking forward to that. All right, Mauricio, thanks for hanging out. And to all of you guys that are watching, thank you as well. We will see you tomorrow with Third Nerd Friday with Kelly Smith from Haggerty, as well as my partner, Michael Deeb, who really cares, and me. I just did that. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thanks, Mauricio.
See ya.